Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Southerner's Northern Garden. So today's video is going to be fairly short. I got in some shrubs from proven winners that are new to garden centers this year that I wanted to go over. So proven winners sent these out to me. So very much a thank you to proven winners Color Choice Shrubs. So they sent these 1 gallon containers. They gave me a couple options. There were several hydrangeas to choose from, and so I was allowed to select 2 plants. And you might be surprised, but I didn't select 2 hydrangeas because I have a lot of hydrangeas in my garden already. There was a specific one I wanted to try out. So you know, along this patio I have a hedge of 𝗟𝗶𝗸𝗲 hydrangeas. They get around 3 to 4 foot tall and wide. They can get taller if you don't prune them at all. But there's a new panicle on the market that I mentioned in the video where I showed you the 𝗟𝗶𝗸s in my hydrangea tour. And that one specifically is Firelight Tidbit. So you know I have a Firelight hydrangea in my garden. The Firelight hydrangea can get, 8 to 10 foot tall and wide, if not pruned back significantly. So this is the Firelight Tidbit, and it only gets 2 to 3 foot tall and wide. So I don't have a plant tag to show you, but I will pop a picture on the screen of what the Firelight Tidbit looks like. So it has a very compact, very full growth. You can see here how many leaves it is. Very nice stems. The stems are slightly red, just very bushy, and it will form like the football shaped panicles on there. The Firelight variety transitions to a pink earlier in the season than typical limelights would. So it's going to be a great one that I'm going to tuck into my new garden beds that I have. I'm not sure exactly where I will put this yet. I may put it under my Rising Sun red buds, so this will need a good amount of sun every day to perform and bloom well, so that 6 to 8 hours of sun, a little protection in the afternoon if you live in an extremely hot climate, and I will be putting it on drip. The best thing about panicle hydrangeas is they will tolerate a wide range of growing conditions. So this hydrangea is hardy all the way down to zone 3, but hardy up to zone 8. So if you live in a zone 9, it may just not bloom reliably for you, or it may be too hot and it might burn really easily. So this is a great option if you are looking for a small panicle hydrangea. They do bloom on new wood, so you don't have to worry about ever pruning them too much. They will always produce blooms for you. And it's just a great option out there that's more flexible for the home gardener who has a little space. So I would recommend you check out Firelight Tidbit this year or next year. It may be more available in your local garden centers next year. The second plant I selected was a plant called a Mockorange. Mockoranges are typically a very kind of old variety of plant that you may have found in your grandmother's garden. They produce these really delicate, dainty white flowers here. I will also place a photo on the screen so you can see what this one looks like. So one of the plants I've been looking for in my garden for quite some time is Illuminati towers. I was wanting to kind of get a bigger specimen to start with, but you can't find them locally anywhere that I've been able to locate. So Proven Winners released this new version in the same series, and this one's called Illuminati Arch. And so tower grew kind of just in a 1 to 2 foot tall area, which is great in the space that I need in my garden because it's kind of compact. But this one I think I'm going to place on the corner of the shed, and it's going to be the corner specimen for that area. It will get 4 foot tall and wide, and the branches kind of just arch and droop out from the plant. So I think it will be really beautiful. It actually has blooms on it now, but it typically blooms in late spring to early summer. So because it's been in a greenhouse and been grown on, it's just kind of out of its bloom cycle, but there are a couple bloom buds right here. This one blooms on old wood, so it's a plant that you will want to put in your garden and not trim. If you trim it, then you will risk losing blooms the next season. If you do need to prune it, anything that blooms on old wood should be pruned immediately after it blooms, because these plants start setting their buds on last year's growth really quickly after it blooms out from the season. So I think this will be a really pretty specimen. The blooms are supposed to smell like orange blossoms, but it's because of its hardiness. This one's hardy in zone 4B to 7B, so it's also pretty hardy in a wide variety of conditions. As you know, my garden is in zone 6. I'm kind of in between 6A and 6B, so I typically just say 6, and so it should do perfectly fine here. It is a part sun to sun plant, so I'm going to put it on the side of the shed, and it will probably get full sun for the next few years. As the maple grows, it may get less sun and it may need to be moved. And if it begins to struggle in subsequent years down the road, I can always transplant it somewhere where it will be a little more happy and more sun. But I think it's going to be beautiful for the next few years and add a lot of beauty to the side of the shed. So Jess left this morning to travel back to South Carolina, and I was going to plan to get a lot done in the garden today. However, it's another day that's going to be super, super hot. So I wanted to come out and shoot this video while we still had some shade. I think I'm going to take the rest of the day easy and not do a whole lot in the garden, just get some things watered, because some cooler weather is headed in Wednesday or Thursday, and we're supposed to have highs in the low 70s to mid 70s. And so fall is quickly approaching, and I'm super excited to be able to get some of these things in the ground and get these beds fully prepped for winter. One thing I may do this season is, since it's beginning to cool off finally, is I may not run drip to some of these plants and see how they settle in the winter. The barberries that I have to plant down in the bed back behind me that you can see briefly there do not like a lot of water, so I'm trying to contemplate whether I should add a 1-hour drip emitter, which as you know, I don't run my drip very long. I tend to run it 20 minutes at a time. And that may be sufficient water for them. My only concern is, although they don't tolerate a lot of water, we do tend to go into a drought in July and August in this area, and I don't want to have to be standing out there with a water hose watering them at all. So if I can put the 1-hour drip emitter on them, or I could even do a ½ gallon per hour drip emitter, just so they have a little bit of water if we're going through a drought, that might be satisfactory. So I've got to decide whether I'm going to run drip to all these plants that I'm putting into the garden this year. A lot of them are evergreens, so they don't need a ton of water to begin with. Some evergreens need more water than others, but I found boxwoods are pretty drought tolerant once established, and since they're going in the ground this fall, they'll have all winter to acclimate before the hot weather next summer. I will be putting drip on a lot of those though, because they do tend to grow quicker and better if they do have drip irrigation to them. But I also need to get a lot of plants in the ground very quickly. And so running drip to those takes extra time. So I may, on the front end, just plant everything, and if I have time, I'll run drip irrigation. If I don't, I may come back to that in the spring and pop that in there and get everything watered well. It's kind of a careful balance, because while I don't want to stand out here hand watering 200 shrubs I put in the ground this fall, if the weather is cool enough, that shouldn't be much of an issue. In the comments, let me know how you're transitioning your garden into fall. I'm not a big person who buys a lot of fall annuals like mums and puts them out. I find it's kind of wasteful. That might be something I get into in subsequent years, but right now I've just put a lot of money into the shrubs that I'm putting into the ground this year, and I probably won't put a lot of fall plantings together annual-wise. A lot of the things I have in here will transition just well into fall, and then I will be pulling them out in probably about another month anyway. Our last frost date in this area can be anywhere from the 3rd week of October to the 1st week of November. We have had frost typically later in October the past few years that I've lived here, but some of my annuals just don't have very long, and I don't want to spend money putting more annuals out that won't last less than a month. Overall, I'm hoping the next month in the garden brings cooler weather so that the plants can settle down into winter, and all the new shrubs that I put in the ground over the coming month will acclimate well into winter and hopefully not experience a sharp, sudden drop in temperatures in winter. That's one thing I experience in my garden the past several years. It will be kind of warm through October, and all of a sudden the temperature will drop really quickly, and then some of the boxwoods experience burn, and some of the other plants struggle as a result. So as I transition my boxwoods into winter, I will be showing you how I do that, because if I'm going to do any pruning, it will be this month. That way the branches and the leaves can harden off for winter. And then I apply a spray to them that helps seal in some moisture over winter, which will be really beneficial as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Take care, stick around, and I will be finishing planting out the garden in the coming weeks, and I will bring you along for that. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and if you have any questions, drop them below. And don't forget, in a world full of hate, be a light. Take care, everyone. Bye.